everybody. This is Sri from BizBuzz, What Matters the Most in Your Business, sponsored by My Work Belt. My Work Belt is a all-in-one software, particularly catering to service-based small businesses. Today, I have a guest, Craig Andrews. Craig Andrews is a principal ally at alliesforme.com. They are located in Austin, Texas. Craig, how are you doing today?
Sure, I'm doing wonderfully, and you probably noticed a different background. Have a place in Austin that I work usually once a week. This week I'm here twice, and it's just absolutely gorgeous. And so doing nice environment and nice to be here.
Nice to hear that. Glad to hear that you're doing wonderful and in a beautiful environment. Now, Craig, as we were talking in the green room, so I wanted to ask you about, in your observation, you work with a lot of small businesses. I work with a lot of small businesses. But in your observation, what is the psychology of buying in the small businesses? We talk many times how they should market, how they should message their product or service, how they should be selling it, and what they should do to do better sales. But I wanted to look at the opposite spectrum today and see how do they make buying decisions.
Yeah, that's a really good question, Sri, and it actually ties in when I have somebody a lead for our marketing services come in.
Right.
One of the questions I'll ask them is what is the customer lifetime value of a client? And I
Mm-hmm.
find a lot of them have trouble answering that. They don't know. And so I kind of walk through it. And we kind of come up with a number for that.
Right.
And then I ask them, okay, if let's say if the lifetime value of a new client to you is $100,000,
Mm-hmm.
how much of that hundred, and that's not revenue, that's gross profit.
Mm-hmm.
If they're worth $100,000 to you, how much of that 100,000 would you be willing to spend to acquire them? And I don't mind sharing this. There's a few people that refuse to answer that question, and I'm like, okay, well, I don't think I can help you. And the reason is, when people are buying my services, they have a number in their head of what they want to spend on marketing,
Mm-hmm.
but they're never tying it to results. It's like
Correct.
some arbitrary value. And so, somebody might say, well, spending $10,000 to acquire a new customer, that's just too expensive.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, well, if their lifetime value to you is $100,000, is that
Right.
bad?
Right. Right.
And it reminds me of there's a guy named John Spolstra. For those, a lot of people say that name sounds familiar. John's son, Eric Spolstra, is the coach of the Miami Heat. And John would go around, John's a marketer, and he would go around coaching owners of basketball teams and baseball teams, minor league baseball teams, on things. And one of the things he always had trouble getting them to do was to hire more salespeople. And so he started doing this little trick, and he talks about in one of his books about doing it over in Spain,
Yeah.
where he's meeting with the ownership, and he says, "I have €1 here, or I have €10 here. If somebody will give me €1, I'll give you these €10." And they would hesitate, and they would look at him, but somebody would eventually go up and say, "Okay." So they hand him their €1, and he hands them back 10.
10.
He's like, I have another €10. Does anybody want to buy these €10 for one
Now
euro?
everybody opens raise their hands.
And and he says, okay, so you get the concept. Why aren't you hiring salespeople? Because a good salesperson will deliver $10 for every dollar you pay them.
You pay them.
And I faced that here literally just in the last week. I've told you I've been playing around with autonomous agents, AI agents, and I've been running in some limits on my machine. I've been running on a very, very old, very limited Mac Mini, and it's hard to find Mac Minis. They're sold out at Apple. They're sold out at Mac Studios. They're very hard to find. And I
Right.
just got lucky and I found a Mac Studio, but it was a little bit more than I wanted to spend. But see how I was caught in that same mentality. I was like, well, I don't want to spend that much. And I had to pause and say, if this does what I believe it will do for me, what does that mean to my business?
Correct.
And that's and that's hard for small businesses. Um, and sometimes you just don't have the money. As a matter of fact, as soon as I bought that, another one popped up that was even closer to what I wanted, and it was $500 more. And I went kind of back and forth, and I was like, "Well, that's what I really want." And it hit
See,
me. I was like, "Well, no,
I
oh,
find it hard to believe that the argument is that they have a hard time finding money.
yes,
If you really, it's not that they don't find money. It's that the mental block that I don't want to put money.
yeah,
I don't want to, even a minute ago you said the same thing. I don't want to pay more than what I want to pay.
hmm
You didn't say that I didn't have money to pay for it,
right, right,
isn't it? See, again, it goes back to the subconscious and psychology that I don't want to pay for it. But once you reveal this concept that $10 to $1, right? Everybody says that, oh, where do you want me to sign up?
yeah,
Right. But we make the buying decision with the preconceived notion that I don't want to pay for it or I don't have money to pay for it. But we
yeah,
don't look at it as a small business community. We don't look at it as an investment. If I'm investing dollar today, knowing that it is going to reap me rewards of $10, I will invest it. Certainly, we don't have a guarantee for anything. That's going to pull back at least a half of the community to invest that dollar, isn't
yeah,
it?
yeah. If you want guarantees, go work for somebody else.
There you
And
go.
even that's not guaranteed. But that's
Even that's not guaranteed. Yes,
yeah. But that's and that's the nature. If you're running a business, at some point you took a risk and you said you believed in yourself more than you believed in working for someone else. And so then I think you just have to approach every buying decision from the perspective of what do I believe this will do for my business? And um, and unfortunately, what happens is people uh, buy something that's not good enough, and they don't get the results they want, and then it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. And so I have this
it
happen
doesn't
in
work.
marketing. Yeah,
It doesn't work.
I have the I have this happen in marketing a lot. Like we're expensive, but we get results. And so somebody will go with somebody that's less expensive. And then eventually we'll hear back from them and say, we tried something else and it didn't work. Well, that's now a lot of money they just lost. It's not about buying the cheapest, it's about buying um, one, what you can afford or can finance reasonably with a confident expectation that's going to pay for itself pretty quickly.
Now, see that in stuff, if I were to be a small business owner, I actually, I mean, I am a small business owner. Many of the times, I remove the word buying in my decision making. Right? If I if I replace the word buying with the investing, my decision making is become a lot more comfortable and convenient.
Yeah.
And as a human being, I think we have some sort of a judgment with the word buying, right? And many of the sales training, they also teach that. Mm, I've listened to so many sales audios like from Tom Hopkins or Brian Tracy. These are the gurus in sales. They say that don't use the word buying and replace it with investment. Now, see,
Yeah.
this is the buying decision. If this is how the psychology that we have when we are making a buying decision as a small business owners, is it not wise for us to apply the same thinking how our buyers or how our customers are making the buying decision?
Yeah. And and one, as a marketer, I'm always going to encourage the path of empathy. You have
Right.
to kind of understand where they are. And that's why I kind of, over time I develop my sales questions to realize that they're coming in they're looking at the problem with the wrong mindset. And instead of ridiculing them for having the wrong mindset, I've come up with a way of kind of gently moving them to the right mindset. And some decide, no, this isn't right for me, and that's fine. That's their choice. But it's, I think it has to begin with empathy, of understanding where they're coming from, and being patient. But also, I do think if you're selling, you have to have a well-defined process to overcome these objections. And
Absolutely.
but while realizing, maybe buying your services or maybe buying my services is a little bit painful and feels expensive. We just have to realize that and realize the mindset they're in and get them to the right mindset that, so that they can make a better decision.
So, if I summarize it a little bit, so the buying decision we make as a business owners, we make the buying decisions in certain way. And again, even the word buy has a kind of a backlash when you are using that word when you are making a purchases, right? Now, if we replace that buy word with investment, it makes it a lot more easier for us to invest in any product or service that we are trying to acquire in order to reap the rewards that we desire, right? Now,
Yep.
if we apply the same thing to the customer side of it, we have to have an empathy, as you well put it, Craig. We have to have an empathy and see where they stand and understand where their position is, and then slowly navigate them into the right solution that benefits them. At least they perceive it as a benefiting them, right? And that
Yeah.
is where you're going to develop a trust and trusted relationship. And in doing so, if that's not a right fit, be comfortable to say, okay, we are not a good fit,
Yep. Yeah.
right? So this is the buying decision. If those who are listening, I hope you're taking it. You take your buying decision, apply it to the other side of the party who is who is coming to buying your own product or service. So that will give you a great deal of empathy and power in making a trustworthy transaction. I hope you have enjoyed this conversation today and take away a valuable advice or a tip that you can apply in your business and make it to grow or thrive it into profits. Until next episode, thank you very much. If you have not liked our episode already, please do so and subscribe to us. And we will see you in next episode. Bye now.